Well, what does need to happen is finding a new spot for Sunny. You know, she's still going to be working with her tag champs here. The Smoking Guns, the In Your House Mind Games show is where we see that big poster fall down. And we've seen it before, the big Sunny poster that's over the ring. Well, now it's done where it's been doctored up a little bit. And they gave her a beard and a mustache. And of course, they're saying that Owen Hart and Davey Boy did that, which I think is fun. And around that same time, we're going to try something else with Sunny. We're going to be switching away from doing Blast Off on WGN and the old Mania show. And we're going to start doing Livewire on USA, which is going to be a live program on Saturday mornings on USA, hosted by Jim Cornette and Sunny. At least that's the first episode. They'll take phone calls and faxes, and it doesn't really get a great rating, only a 1.1 on its initial outing. But that first episode felt a little scripted, a little planted, a little overly screened, some fake bickering back and forth. We're figuring it out. They continue to tinker with it a little bit, but on Superstars in this era, it's you and Mr. Perfect doing the announcing. How did you like working with Mr. Perfect on Superstars?
Oh, good. I like Kurt was always fun. He's a great sense of humor, had great product knowledge. He was a little ornery. Uh, he was, I think, Strongbow called him Dennis the Menace because he was a little cantankerous at times, just having fun. But I enjoyed working with Kurt. He was good. And again, you think about these guys that I work with. Most of them came into that scenario without any training, without any experience. So for them to be successful with the lack of experience that they possessed was nothing short of extraordinary, quite frankly. Kurt was a star, and I always enjoyed working with him. He always had jokes. He told stories. The stuff in the commercial breaks and things like that were absolutely uh, entertaining as hell. So I always enjoyed working with him. Like I said, he was like a big kid with a never-ending sense of uh, adolescence. She always say, but a good guy. I enjoyed working with Kurt.
Let's talk about somebody else's body. We're going to be talking about Sable here. It's written in the Observer back when Dave wrote Chris Candido's obituary. He wrote
Uh,
this: Sable quickly shot by Sonny for a number of reasons, from larger implants to being far easier to work with. The two hated each other. Once on a TV show, Sonny noted that Sable, who looked much older in the face, was only 28 years old, and noted how wrinkled up her face was. She, of course, was not supposed to say that. And a lot of people blame the pressure of Sable being pushed for Sitch cracking. Mick Foley thought she was never the same after she lost a highly publicized televised bikini contest to Sable at the Slammy Awards that year, when Sable came out wearing next to nothing. Before Sable became the best selling Playboy cover girl in a decade, Sitch was given a huge money offer and the company wanted her to do it. She refused, thinking that wasn't what she wanted to do, although Candido said later they regretted that decision. Sadly, not many years later, for pennies in comparison, she would get loaded and perform on the porn pro wrestling Vixen's website with the 80s wrestling babe Missy Hyatt. You know, you were in the company for a lot of those Playboy deals. With
yeah.
the benefit of hindsight, because I know this offer came in 96, were you an advocate at the time for her to do it? And with the benefit of hindsight, do you think she should have?
I think she should have. I think it fit her character, the sex appeal, all that stuff, uh, all was put into place. I never really understood uh, why she didn't want to do Playboy. It's a great payday, excellent exposure. She looked good. Her character was built for that. At least one of the things she was built for. And I never understood that deal. It's overthinking it. She's a sex. She had great sex appeal. Did Sunny, and of course Sable capitalized on her sex appeal with some big money opportunities for covers of Playboy, and I think Sonny should have done the same thing.
It's a shame. Were you a subscriber to the Wrestling Vixens website?
Nope.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with it. I know what it is, but I didn't subscribe to it.
I was gonna laugh if you figured out how to get Wrestling Vixens, but you were still struggling with Netflix because that was
Amen.
gonna.
That's all right. That's right.
Dave Meltzer wrote this. He said, Somas were quickly becoming the drug of choice in the company. The schedule was much tougher in those days. The rings were a lot harder. While the work rate and excitement level in the matches, for the most part, wasn't nearly as good as today, the drug culture was stronger. Candido got hooked, using the excuse that everyone was doing it and no one could survive the schedule and punishment without him. He was one of the company's hardest workers in the ring, but he was becoming a problem outside the ring. Her reputation wasn't helping him either. Her problem was that she learned wrestling under Jim Cornette and was a sponge for knowledge. Often, when the TV people, who had no such background, would suggest things to her that made no sense, she'd explain why they didn't. It was one thing in a male oriented business if Shawn Michaels or Kevin Nash, who were top stars, would do that. But another, when a 23-year-old woman who was hired to be nothing more than TNA would, well, it only made them want to push Sable more. Candido felt when she turned down the Playboy deal, they had it in for her. Cornette himself got heat because Sitch would bring up his name when explaining the ideas and why they weren't good. Eventually, everyone wanted to wash their hands of her, and Cornette was put in charge of dealing with her. And then she started missing appearances. She became the subject of locker room gossip, including the Sunny Days comment by Shawn Michaels on a live Raw to Bret Hart. In the locker room, Candido lost respect amongst the wrestlers for staying with her and was ribbed hard in particular by the Clique, who made his life a living hell. He constantly denied that there was anything to the stories, and the rumors drove him crazy. Man, what a write-up here from Dave Meltzer. A lot to unpack, as I like to say, but do you remember that being the case, that she would tell people why their idea wasn't the right idea and credit Jim Cornette, and that sort of gets him and her heat?
Yeah, I remember it. And it put a burden on Cornette, no doubt about that. And he was saddled with babysitting, and we used the word unattainable. That was certainly an unattainable situation, and it was just more maintenance, more labor, more, just not good, man, not good at all. So, and she self-destructed. The somas and all that bullshit. I never understood that scenario. I never understood that piece of business. And it just shows you that the drugs got no place in the business. It just doesn't. And she fell right into the trap, and so did Chris. And Chris,
Reliability became an issue.
what's that?
Reliability became an issue.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know how I feel about reliability. It's important.